Nigga.
The sound of gunshots echoing through a quiet hair salon on a Friday morning. Blood pooling on black and white checkered floors. A successful entrepreneur's life ending not in a boardroom, but in a barber's chair. July 11, 2025. Arlington, Texas. 10:15 a.m. What should have been an ordinary day at the salon and spa galleria became a crime scene that would shock an entire community. William Todd Austin, a 37-year-old financial influencer who had built an empire from nothing, was getting his hair cut when his ex-partner walked through the door with a gun and a heart full of rage. Have you ever wondered how quickly love can turn deadly? How the person you once shared dreams with could become the one holding your nightmares? Todd Austin thought he knew Timon Michelle Williams. They had built a life together, raised a child, and appeared picture-perfect on social media. But love, when it sours, can become the most dangerous emotion of all. What would you do if someone you trusted with your heart became your greatest threat? This isn't just another crime story, this is about the hidden violence that lurks beneath the surface of seemingly perfect relationships. The kind of violence that destroys families, orphans children, and leaves communities asking one haunting question: how did we miss the warning signs? Have you seen success stories that ended in unimaginable tragedy? Todd's Instagram was filled with luxury cars, expensive jewelry, and motivational quotes about becoming the first multimillionaire in your family. His Credit Champs business was thriving. His followers numbered in the tens of thousands. He was living proof that hard work pays off. Yet none of that success could protect him from the bullets fired by the mother of his child. This case exposes a terrifying truth about domestic violence: it doesn't discriminate based on income, education, or social status. It can hide behind smiling photos and family vacations. It can escalate from heated arguments to murder in the span of weeks. And it can turn any ordinary place, a hair salon, a grocery store, your own home, into a crime scene. The statistics are staggering. Every minute, nearly 20 people are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. That's more than 10 million people per year. But numbers don't capture the real horror: the moment when love becomes lethal, when protection becomes persecution, when the person who promised to cherish you forever decides that if they can't have you, nobody can. Today, we're going to examine every detail of this tragic case. We'll explore the relationship between Todd and Timon, the warning signs that were overlooked, and the final moments that ended 2 lives and orphaned an innocent child. Most importantly, we'll uncover the red flags that could help you recognize when love is turning dangerous, because awareness might be the only thing standing between life and death. Before we explore this devastating story, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. The signs we're about to reveal could save a life, maybe even your own. Because in a world where domestic violence claims lives every single day, knowledge isn't just power, it's protection. William Todd Austin's story reads like a modern fairy tale, until the ending. Born around 1988 in Kansas City, Missouri, Todd grew up in circumstances that would have broken lesser men. His family struggled financially, living paycheck to paycheck in a working-class neighborhood where dreams often died young. But Todd possessed something that money couldn't buy: an unshakable belief that his circumstances didn't define his destiny. At Westport High School, while his classmates worried about weekend parties, Todd was already scheming about his future. He watched his parents stress over bills, witnessed neighbors lose their homes to foreclosure, and made a promise to himself: he would never be financially powerless. That promise would drive everything that followed. By his early 20s, Todd had packed his ambitions and headed south to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Texas represented opportunity, a booming economy, entrepreneurial spirit, and the kind of environment where a hungry young man could build something from nothing. He didn't arrive with a trust fund or family connections. He had only his determination and a growing understanding of something most people feared: credit. While others saw credit reports as confusing documents filled with numbers and codes, Todd saw potential. He recognized that credit was the gateway to the American dream, the difference between renting and owning, between struggling and thriving, between surviving and truly living. This revelation became the foundation of Credit Champs. What started as a side hustle in the mid-2010s transformed into an empire. Todd didn't just repair credit scores, he rebuilt lives. His clients weren't just numbers in a database. They were single mothers trying to buy their first homes, young entrepreneurs seeking business loans, and families attempting to escape the cycle of financial desperation he knew so well. Social media became his weapon of choice. While traditional financial advisors wore suits and spoke in corporate jargon, Todd showed up authentic and relatable. His Instagram posts featured luxury cars wrapped with Credit Champs logos, expensive jewelry that sparkled under studio lights, and motivational captions that hit like lightning: "Your credit score is your superpower. Use it wisely." Tens of thousands followed his journey. Comments poured in daily: "Todd changed my life. Went from a 480 to a 720 thanks to Credit Champs." If you're reading this, you will become the first multimillionaire in your family, a prophecy one fan posted just 24 hours before Todd's death. But social media tells only half the story. Behind the glamorous posts and business success, Todd was navigating the complexities of fatherhood and partnership. He adored his young daughter, sharing precious moments of birthday parties and family outings. His posts showed a man who understood that true wealth meant more than money. It meant legacy, love, and the security of knowing your child would have opportunities you never did. Todd's Arlington office buzzed with energy. Employees described him as a mentor who treated his team like family, someone who remembered birthdays and celebrated personal victories alongside professional ones. He hosted community barbecues, turning business relationships into genuine friendships. His success wasn't just individual, it lifted everyone around him. Yet those closest to him began noticing cracks in the foundation. The long hours building his empire were taking their toll on his personal relationships. Success demands sacrifice, but the question becomes, what are you willing to lose in the pursuit of winning? His relationship with Timon Michelle Williams, the mother of his child, was showing signs of strain. While Todd's public presence continued to shine, private conversations with friends hinted at tension. The pressures of co-parenting, building a business, and maintaining a public image were creating fractures that wouldn't remain hidden forever. Just days before his death, Todd's Miami vacation posts told a story of independence and renewal. Yacht outings, fine dining, and shopping sprees filled his feed, images of a man celebrating freedom. But freedom from what? The captions brimmed with triumph, but followers who knew him well sensed something deeper: a man seeking space, perhaps trying to rediscover himself outside the roles of partner and co-parent. Success had given Todd everything he thought he wanted: financial security, influence, and the ability to help others escape the poverty he remembered. But it couldn't protect him from the most dangerous threat of all: someone who once loved him enough to share his dreams, now angry enough to end them forever. Timon Michelle Williams was not supposed to be the villain of this story. At 37, she was a woman who had built her own life in the beauty industry, working with clients who trusted her with their appearance and self-confidence. Friends described her as vibrant yet private, someone who preferred meaningful conversations over surface-level small talk. She was a devoted mother who put her daughter's needs above her own ambitions. When Timon met Todd, she saw potential in the ambitious young entrepreneur. This wasn't a woman looking for a financial rescue. She had her own career, her own goals, her own sense of independence. Instead, she became his partner in the truest sense, supporting Credit Champs during its early days when success was still a distant dream rather than a daily reality. The early photos tell a different story than the headlines that would follow. Timon appeared in Credit Champ's promotional content, lending her credibility and support to Todd's growing brand. She attended networking events, celebrated business milestones, and helped build the empire that would eventually overshadow their relationship. Her contributions weren't always visible to the public, but those who knew the couple understood her integral role in Todd's success. As a mother, Timon was fiercely protective of their daughter. She worked to shield the child from the pressures of Todd's growing fame, maintaining routines and stability while he traveled for business and built his online presence. The balance between supporting a partner's dreams and protecting a child's normalcy is delicate, and Timon walked that line with grace, until something shifted. The transformation from supportive partner to perpetrator didn't happen overnight. Those who study domestic violence know that desperation rarely announces itself with dramatic gestures. Instead, it grows quietly in the spaces between conversations, in the moments when one person's success makes another feel increasingly invisible. Todd's rising fame created an imbalance that neither of them initially recognized as dangerous. His face was on promotional materials, his voice dominated their shared social circles, and his name was becoming synonymous with financial success. Meanwhile, Timon's contributions faded into the background, her identity becoming increasingly defined by her relationship to his achievements rather than her own. Co-parenting added another layer of complexity. When couples separate, children often become unwitting pawns in adult conflicts. Custody arrangements, financial responsibilities, and decision-making authority can transform former partners into adversaries. For Timon, watching Todd celebrate his independence on social media while she managed daily parenting responsibilities may have felt like the ultimate betrayal. The warning signs were subtle but present. Friends noticed Timon's social media activity had become sparse and cryptic, a stark contrast to Todd's frequent posts about prosperity and freedom. Her updates hinted at heartbreak and frustration, but nothing that screamed imminent danger. Acquaintances mentioned she had voiced concerns about their custody arrangement, but disagreements over parenting decisions are common in separated couples. The beauty industry provided Timon with connections throughout the Dallas area salon scene, connections that would prove tragically relevant. She knew which establishments Todd frequented, understood his routines, and had access to spaces where he felt comfortable and unguarded. This knowledge, combined with her growing desperation, created a perfect storm of opportunity and motive. Perhaps most heartbreaking is understanding that Timon wasn't born a killer. She was a mother, a businesswoman, and a partner who had invested years in building a life with someone who ultimately chose a different path. Her final actions don't excuse the tragedy that followed, but they illuminate how quickly love can transform into something unrecognizable when mixed with rejection, humiliation, and despair. If you're recognizing any of these warning signs in your own relationships or those around you, please share this video. Awareness saves lives. July 7th through 9th, 2025. While Timon was managing single parenthood and processing the end of their relationship, Todd was living his best life in Miami. The post started innocent enough, a businessman celebrating hard work with a well-deserved vacation. But for someone watching from afar, nursing a broken heart and wounded pride, each image felt like a knife twist. Day 1, Todd posted from a luxury yacht, champagne glass raised to the camera, caption reading, "Freedom feels good." The Miami skyline glittered behind him as he toasted to his new independence. To his followers, this looked like success. To Timon, it looked like celebration over their relationship's demise. Day 2, designer jewelry shopping. Todd filmed himself trying on expensive watches and chains, asking his audience which pieces they preferred. Investment pieces for a successful man, he captioned one post. The subtext was clear: he was moving on, moving up, and moving forward without her. Day 3, fine dining at exclusive restaurants, posting photos of elaborate meals that cost more than many people's weekly groceries. Each post accumulated hundreds of likes and comments from admirers, further amplifying the message that Todd's life was better without Timon in it. Social media had become a weapon, though Todd may not have realized he was wielding it. Experts in domestic violence recognize this pattern. when one partner uses public platforms to demonstrate their happiness after a breakup, it can trigger dangerous emotions in the other party. The posts weren't just about Miami, they were about proving that life was better, more luxurious, and more fulfilling without Timon. While Todd documented every moment of his getaway, Timon's social media went dark. The contrast was striking, his feeds filled with celebration, hers silent with pain. Friends later described her as increasingly isolated during this period, declining invitations and avoiding places where she might encounter mutual acquaintances who would inevitably ask about the breakup. The psychological pressure was mounting. Domestic violence doesn't always involve physical abuse. Emotional and psychological warfare can be equally destructive. Timon was experiencing what experts call post-separation abuse, where one partner uses their freedom, success, or new relationships to inflict continued emotional damage on their former partner. The breaking point psychology is well documented in domestic violence cases. When someone feels completely powerless, publicly humiliated, and permanently discarded, dangerous thoughts can take root. The sense of being replaced, forgotten, or treated as disposable can trigger desperate actions in individuals who might otherwise never consider violence. July 11, 2025 began like any ordinary Friday in Arlington, Texas. Todd had returned from Miami, seemingly energized by his trip. His morning routine was predictable: wake up early, check social media engagement from overnight, respond to business messages, and handle personal maintenance. Today's agenda included a haircut at his regular spot, Salon and Spa Galleria on South Cooper Street. At 9:30 a.m., Todd was responding to comments on his latest post, a motivational quote about success being the best revenge. The irony would later feel crushing to those who knew what was coming. By 9:45 a.m., he was in his car, driving through Arlington's familiar streets toward his appointment with Dax the barber. He was wearing workout clothes, planning to hit the gym after his haircut. His phone buzzed with notifications, business calls, client consultations, and the constant digital demands of being a successful influencer. At 10 a.m., Todd walked into the salon, greeting staff members who knew him as a regular customer. He settled into Dax's chair, scrolling through his phone while making small talk about his Miami trip. The salon was busy but not crowded, a typical Friday morning with clients coming and going for weekend preparations. Meanwhile, Timon's movements during these same hours remained partially unknown. What we do know is that she had obtained a handgun and made the decision that would end 2 lives and orphan an innocent child. The exact timeline of her planning remains unclear, but the determination in her actions suggests this wasn't a spontaneous decision. The collision course was set. 2 people who had once planned a future together were now heading toward a tragic end that would shock a community and leave a young girl without either parent. The Salon and Spa Galleria on South Cooper Street was humming with its usual Friday morning energy. Hair dryers whirred in the background, creating white noise that mixed with conversations about weekend plans and summer vacation stories. The black and white checkered floor gleamed under bright overhead lighting, and the scent of hair products filled the air, familiar comfort for regular clients like Todd. Dax the barber had been cutting hair for years, developing the easy rapport that keeps customers coming back. His chair sat in a prime spot near the front window, offering a view of the parking lot while providing privacy for conversation. Regular clients appreciated Dax's steady hands and his ability to listen without judgment, making his chair a safe space for both grooming and genuine connection. At 10:12 a.m., Todd settled into the familiar leather chair, his workout clothes comfortable and casual. He was scrolling through his phone, probably checking the engagement on his latest motivational post or reviewing his afternoon schedule. The Miami tan was still fresh on his face, and he looked relaxed, a successful man enjoying the simple pleasure of a professional haircut. "How was Miami?" Dax asked, securing the cape around Todd's neck with practiced efficiency. The conversation was light, typical barbershop talk about travel and business. Todd smiled, sharing details about the yacht and the restaurants, his voice carrying the satisfaction of someone who had earned his luxuries through hard work. Other clients moved through the salon's various suites. An esthetician was preparing for a facial appointment in the back room. Another stylist was mixing hair color for a client's touch-up. The atmosphere was professional but relaxed, the kind of environment where people felt comfortable letting their guard down. At 10:15 a.m., Timon Michelle Williams walked through the front door. Her appearance was unremarkable at first glance, another client arriving for an appointment. She moved with purpose but not urgency, her expression focused rather than frantic. The other patrons barely noticed her entrance. This was her world too, after all, the beauty industry where she had built her own career and reputation. But Timon wasn't there for beauty services. In her bag was a handgun, and in her heart was a rage that had been building since Todd's Miami posts began appearing on her feed. She approached Todd directly, her footsteps muffled by the salon's carpeting. Dax looked up, scissors paused mid-cut, sensing the tension that had suddenly entered his workspace. Todd's eyes met Timon's in the mirror, and something in his expression shifted from surprise to concern. The conversation between them was brief. Witnesses later described it as an exchange lasting less than 30 seconds. The words were inaudible over the salon's background noise, but the body language spoke volumes. Timon's posture was rigid, confrontational. Todd remained seated but alert, his relaxed demeanor evaporating as he recognized the danger in her approach. What happened next shattered the Friday morning calm forever. Timon pulled the handgun from her bag with swift, deliberate movements. The first shot rang out like thunder in the enclosed space, causing instant chaos. Clients screamed, stylists ducked behind chairs, and the peaceful atmosphere exploded into terror. Todd had no chance to escape, no opportunity to defend himself, no time to plead for his life or think of his daughter. The shots came in rapid succession, multiple rounds fired at close range while he sat helpless in the barber chair. The leather that had provided comfort moments before now absorbed blood as Todd's life ended in the place where he had felt safe and cared for. The sound was deafening, echoing off the salon's walls and embedding itself in the memory of every witness. One esthetician later described hearing the shots and immediately dropping to the floor, her client's facial treatment forgotten as survival instincts took over. Another stylist grabbed her client and pulled her into a back room, both women shaking as they tried to process what was happening. Dax watched in horror as his chair, his workspace, his sanctuary became a crime scene. The man he had been chatting with about Miami vacations was now motionless, his life stolen in seconds by someone who had once loved him. After shooting Todd, Timon moved toward the exit, but something made her pause. Perhaps it was the sound of approaching sirens, or maybe it was the finality of what she had just done. Instead of fleeing, she turned the gun on herself, adding her own death to the tragedy she had created. The entire incident lasted less than 3 minutes, but its impact would last forever. Emergency responders arrived to find 2 bodies and a salon full of traumatized witnesses. Paramedics confirmed what everyone already knew: Todd was gone, and Timon had joined him in death, leaving behind a child who would grow up knowing her parents died in violence rather than lived in love. The black and white checkered floor was stained red, the cheerful morning atmosphere replaced by police tape and investigation markers. What had begun as an ordinary Friday had become a crime scene that would haunt everyone who witnessed it. Arlington Police Department responded within minutes of the first 911 call, their sirens cutting through the summer air as they raced toward South Cooper Street. Officers arrived to find a scene that required no complex investigation: 2 bodies, multiple witnesses, and a clear sequence of events that painted a devastating story of domestic violence turned fatal. Detective units from the Violent Crime Division took control of the scene with methodical precision. They interviewed shaken witnesses, collected ballistics evidence, and reviewed the salon's security footage. Every detail confirmed what had become tragically obvious: Timon Michelle Williams had murdered Todd Austin before taking her own life in a planned act of revenge and desperation. The investigation moved swiftly because the evidence was overwhelming. Ballistics matched the recovered handgun to both fatal wounds. Witness statements corroborated the timeline and sequence of events. The Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office listed Todd's cause of death as multiple gunshot wounds, while Timon died from a self-inflicted shot to the head. No other suspects were sought, no broader conspiracy investigated. This was domestic violence in its most final form. By September 2025, the case remained technically open only for procedural closure. Arlington PD emphasized the domestic nature of the crime, using the tragedy to highlight resources available for at-risk individuals and their families. The swift resolution provided answers but no comfort to those left behind. The ripple effects extended far beyond the crime scene tape. Todd and Tmone's young daughter became the tragedy's most innocent victim, orphaned by violence she was too young to understand. Extended family members stepped forward to provide stability and love, but nothing could fill the void left by losing both parents in a single moment of rage. The Arlington community, particularly the business network Todd had cultivated, struggled to process the loss. Memorial services drew hundreds of people whose lives had been touched by his financial mentorship and genuine friendship. Credit Champs employees faced the challenge of continuing their founder's mission while grieving his sudden absence. Dax the barber faced his own trauma, unable to return to his chair for weeks after the shooting. The sight of dried blood and the memory of Todd's final moments required professional counseling and community support. When he eventually reopened his suite, it was with the understanding that some scars never fully heal. The salon and spa galleria underwent its own recovery process. Management provided counseling services for staff and clients affected by the tragedy, transforming the space from a crime scene back into a place of beauty and care. The business survived, but everyone who worked there carried the memory of that Friday morning. Credit Champs continued operating under the leadership of Todd's business associates, committed to honoring his vision of financial empowerment. The company established a memorial fund for his daughter, ensuring her education and future would reflect the prosperity her father had worked so hard to achieve. Clients continued sharing testimonials about Todd's impact on their financial lives, keeping his legacy alive through their success stories. Legal proceedings were minimal since both parties died at the scene. No criminal charges could be filed, no civil suits pursued, no justice served through courtroom drama. The only resolution came through community healing and the gradual acceptance that some tragedies defy explanation or legal remedy. The investigation revealed crucial warning signs that we all need to recognize. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts on how we can better protect each other from domestic violence. Todd and Tmone's tragedy wasn't random, it followed patterns that experts in domestic violence recognize all too well. Understanding these warning signs could save lives, including your own or someone you care about. The first red flag was the power imbalance that developed as Todd's success grew. When one partner becomes significantly more visible, wealthy, or influential than the other, it can create dangerous dynamics. Tmone went from being an equal partner in building Credit Champs to being Todd's ex-girlfriend, in public perception. This shift from partnership to secondary status can trigger feelings of worthlessness and rage in vulnerable individuals. Social media became a weapon in their relationship's final chapter. Todd's Miami posts weren't just vacation photos, they were public declarations of independence that humiliated Tmone before their entire social network. Experts call this digital abuse, using online platforms to inflict emotional harm on former partners. When someone flaunts their post-breakup happiness on social media while their ex-partner struggles with single parenthood, it can push unstable individuals toward desperate actions. The escalation indicators were subtle but present. Tmone's social media went silent while Todd's became more celebratory. She began isolating herself from mutual friends and declining social invitations. Her cryptic posts hinted at heartbreak and frustration. These behavioral changes often signal someone reaching their breaking point, but they're easy to dismiss as normal breakup emotions. Community blind spots played a crucial role in this tragedy. Todd's success made him appear untouchable, wealthy, influential, and surrounded by admirers. People assume that successful individuals are safe from domestic violence, but financial status provides no protection against a determined attacker. The business community celebrated Todd's achievements while missing the warning signs in his personal life. The statistics are sobering. Domestic violence affects 12 million people annually in the United States. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence, intimate partner contact sexual violence, or intimate partner stalking. Most shocking of all, 72% of murder-suicides involve an intimate partner, and 94% of the victims in these cases are women. Success doesn't guarantee safety. Todd had money, influence, and community respect, but none of that protected him from Timone's bullets. Domestic violence crosses all socioeconomic lines, affecting CEOs and construction workers equally. The myth that wealth provides immunity from intimate partner violence prevents people from recognizing danger in successful relationships. Support networks are critical for both potential victims and perpetrators. Todd's business success may have inadvertently isolated him from people who might have recognized the danger signs. Meanwhile, Timone's isolation after their breakup eliminated sources of emotional support that might have helped her process her feelings without resorting to violence. Strong support systems can provide reality checks, emotional outlets, and intervention opportunities that prevent tragedies. Mental health awareness could have changed this outcome. Timone's transformation from supportive partner to killer suggests untreated depression, anxiety, or other mental health conditions that were exacerbated by their relationship's end. Accessible mental health resources and reduced stigma around seeking help might have provided alternatives to violence. If you recognize these warning signs in your own life or someone else's, resources are available. The National Domestic Violence Hotline 1-800-799-7233 provides 24/7 confidential support. Local law enforcement agencies offer protection orders and safety planning assistance. Mental health professionals can help individuals process relationship trauma without resorting to violence. Helping someone in an abusive relationship requires patience and understanding. Don't judge their decisions or demand immediate action. Offer consistent support, help them develop safety plans, and connect them with professional resources. Sometimes just knowing someone cares enough to listen can prevent a crisis from escalating to violence. The reality behind social media facades is that curated feeds rarely reflect complete truth. Todd's celebration posts and Timone's silence both mask the complex emotions and relationship dynamics that were building toward tragedy. Don't assume that someone's online presence accurately represents their safety, happiness, or mental state. This case teaches us that domestic violence prevention requires community awareness, not just individual vigilance. When we see isolation, dramatic behavioral changes, or concerning social media patterns, we must speak up. When success blinds us to personal struggles, we must look deeper. When mental health stigma prevents people from seeking help, we must normalize professional support. Todd and Timone's daughter will grow up without either parent because warning signs were missed and intervention never occurred. Their tragedy can serve as education that prevents future violence, but only if we commit to recognizing danger and taking action before it's too late. William Todd Austin's legacy refuses to die with him. Credit Champs continues empowering people to escape financial bondage, carrying forward his mission of turning credit scores into life scores. Every client who achieves homeownership, secures a business loan, or breaks generational poverty patterns honors Todd's memory through their success. His dream of creating the first multimillionaire in families across America lives on through the company he built and the people he inspired. The young daughter who lost both parents in that Arlington salon represents the most heartbreaking cost of domestic violence. She'll grow up with photographs instead of father-daughter dances, social media posts instead of bedtime stories, and community support instead of parental guidance. Extended family members have stepped forward to provide love and stability, but nothing can replace what violence stole from her innocent life. The healing process continues throughout Arlington's business community. Colleagues share memories of Todd's mentorship, clients testimonialize about his life-changing advice, and the Memorial Fund ensures his daughter's future reflects the prosperity he worked so hard to achieve. Even Dax the barber eventually returned to his chair, transforming trauma into advocacy for mental health awareness and domestic violence prevention. This tragedy teaches lessons that transcend individual circumstances. Love shouldn't require you to surrender your identity, isolate from support systems, or endure emotional abuse disguised as passion. Healthy relationships build both partners up, toxic ones tear at least one person down until desperation breeds violence. Success without emotional security creates a dangerous illusion. Todd achieved financial freedom and business influence, but neither wealth nor fame protected him from intimate partner violence. Real security requires emotional intelligence, strong support networks, and the wisdom to recognize when relationships become dangerous rather than beneficial. The warning signs were present but ignored: isolation, behavioral changes, power imbalances, and social media warfare. Community members, friends, and family must learn to recognize these red flags and intervene before desperation transforms into violence. Timone's actions were inexcusable, but they followed predictable patterns that awareness could have interrupted. Todd's story doesn't have to be in vain. His death can serve as education that saves other lives, but only if we spread awareness about domestic violence warning signs and prevention resources. Every person who recognizes danger in their own relationships, every community member who speaks up about concerning behaviors, and every individual who seeks help before reaching their breaking point honors Todd's memory by choosing life over violence. Todd's story doesn't have to be in vain. Subscribe to Whispers of the Criminal Mind to stay informed about the warning signs that could save lives. Like this video if it opened your eyes, and share it with someone who needs to hear these lessons. Your engagement helps us reach more people who need to understand that love should never be dangerous. Tomorrow, we'll explore another case where social media became a weapon. But this time, the victim fought back with consequences no one saw coming. You won't want to miss it.